All right, we're live. Welcome everyone to the second session of All Systems Nominal. Returning with us today, we do have Daniel. Not Daniel. We have David, no Daniel, but we have Richard and Darren. But we also have with us today Dell, who's joining us for their first Gauntlet game, which is very exciting. Dell, I would have to apologize. I didn't have a chance to ask you what pronouns you like to use.
What? He and him is fine.
Good call. All right. So glad to have you, Dale. And just to help you get on page with everything else that we're going with here, I want to cover lines and veils that we mentioned at the start of last week's session. We have lines and veils are one of the safety tools that we use here in the Gauntlet as a way for everyone to maybe put out there ahead of time content that they don't want in the story at all, or content that they would rather have be kind of less graphic or less on screen. So we definitely have a line on sexual violence, which means none of us are going to be bringing that any of those elements into the story with our narration. But we do have veils on a few other things. We have a veil on torture, which means torture scenes could happen, but it's going to be off camera. We're going to see the door ominously shut. We're going to maybe hear some buzzing sounds or something, but we're not actually going to look at that in depth. Similarly, we have veils on violence towards children. We don't want to see that on screen. We don't want any graphic depictions or descriptions of that, as well as hospital and medical scenes. We're also doing a veil on those. Cool. And again, Dell did a very gracious thing by watching last week's episode, as well as working a little bit on his character sheet ahead of time, which is going to help us because we kind of stopped off in the middle of our mechanical combat here with our gigantic mechanized infantry. So it's helpful. Thanks again, Dell, for doing that. But I would love if you would take a moment to describe to us your pilot, as well as the machine that they are operating. Take it away.
Sounds good. My pilot, Vinicius or Vinny, he also sometimes goes by the nickname Saint. He was basically raised in by a company. That I made up and I put in the sheet, but to give you a summary, they're called Vatican Industries, and they were formed out of the financial remnants of the Catholic Church as it was collapsing before the exodus from Earth. They tend to use a lot of Catholic-looking rituals and imagery, but few people actually know anything about the Catholicism. Really, it's all ritual based. They don't really know what it means. They say big long Latin prayers without actually knowing Latin. That kind of thing. And he was raised in that culture, and it's also sort of feudal. All the departments are all the department heads are hereditary based. Right. So your family is in the R&D department, and your family has been in that department for 100+ years. So there's lots of intermarrying among the department/families to try to consolidate power, and he was sort of raised in that environment. They're very insular. They don't really tend to interact with the other corps or the outside world terribly much. So coming from that environment, he served. He did a tour of duty with Vatican Industries, but saw no actual combat. So he's heavily trained. But has never actually been in a real combat scenario. And honestly, he's kind of a little bit of an innocent kid. He shouldn't be in a combat scenario. He might not do so well in his first combat scenario. Depending on what it is, to sort of accentuate the innocent kid look, the inside of his mech, is covered in. It looks a little bit like it's a kid's room. It's covered in models of different mechs from different companies that he hand built himself. He has a complete collection of mecha cards that have the pictures of the mechs on the front or the back, have all the stats, which is stuff typically marketed at kids, but he's never really grown out of it. So the sort of a pretty boy rich kid that the a bit of a man child, the and has a lot of ideas about fortune and glory in warfare, and essentially no concept of the actual bloody horrifying thing it really is.
Dell, I hate to break it to you, but you're really setting up Vinny to totally bite it in this.
Oh yeah, that is my point. That's what I do with all my characters. The failure is awesome. Okay. So that's the rough background.
Yeah. So you're sort of almost filling in for Louise's pilot and mecha, because we have here another heavy mecha also with a big spiked flail as a weapon. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about the mecha that Vinny's piloting?
Yeah. So the so I have a picture on there, but it's really just the closest I could find because I had this really particular idea in my head. It's a humanoid torso, sort of knight stylized, like with a shield on one arm and a big heavy flail in the other. And he basically just walks right up to things and smacks him in the face with a big metal spiked ball. His preferred mode of combat. The lower half is spider-like. He's a six-legged mecha, so it's like a humanoid body on top of a spider body. The humanoid torso on top of a spider body. And then his holdout weapon or his backup weapon, his primary is the flail, but his backup is a chest-mounted caustic shrapnel gun. Basically the idea is it's almost like flechette rounds, and they're mostly designed to eat through armor. Although if fired at infantry, it would be horribly devastating.
As you will find out, they don't incorporate odor into the virtual reality tests, I don't imagine. So can you tell me what is particularly Catholic about this mech? How has
so it's like on both in the shield and on his chest where the flechette cannon is, there's a Celtic cross. That's the cross with a circle. And it's covered in it's painted in red, white, and gold. There's literally gold filigree on the mech, which probably looks ridiculous to those of you who've actually been in combat, right? Because why would you make the mech look pretty? That's pointless, right? But at the moment, it's like this beautiful gleaming thing that has clearly never seen a day of combat. But yeah, it's red, white. Like I said, it's sort of knight stylized. Complete with like tabards under the arms, that look like cloth. So that's the very Catholic look of it.
I dig it. And somewhere very far away, the Space Pope is waving to the crowds in the Space Pope mecha mobile.
Right. Otherwise known as the Space CEO, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of veterans who know their way around the battlefield, your tactics are currently being monitored by our Lieutenant Ishikawa here. I think it's time for us to maybe start looking into combat, but I kind of want to maybe take a moment here to have everyone to find a way to tie Vinny in a little bit more with everybody before he may or may not be blown to smithereens in the first combat. So maybe we can do like a quick painting the scene moment here, right? So we kind of established, just to get everybody back in the same mental landscape here, this map that we're on, and we're imagining this is a mining operation, and what that looks like in this far distant future are these large towering spires of metal with these large metallic rods that are constantly chucking up and down into the earth and drawing out phlebotinum, so to speak, from the crust. So there's this kind of loud rhythmic going around everywhere. We've also established that at the top of these towers are these platforms, almost kind of like helipads that people could theoretically hop between if you had the agility or the jump jets necessary to do so. And overall, this whole area is sort of ringed by this sort of mesa-like canyon, these large rock formations that also have sort of a flat plateau on the top. So you're kind of almost walking into a little bit of a cul-de-sac here. This is maybe not tactically a great location to be walking into. It's a bit of a noose. It's a bit of a dead end. But I don't know exactly if Vinny's aware of that necessarily. But yeah, let me think of a good question here. I'm thinking it's something along the lines of what's something that how has Vinny showed each of you his inexperience? What's one time he did that?
The probably with his sort of over exuberance, like he probably walked up to each mech at some point and like rattled off their statistics by heart, in this very sort of fanboyish, and it's got this new part. Oh, and that's a prototype. And and sort of gushing over it, in this sort of, like I said, fanboyish way.
So, like Knox, you're a gearhead yourself. What was it about Vinny's, overexuberance that actually kind of turned you off, as opposed to you being a fellow gearhead in that way?
So listing off all the stats, but they're the stats they list, like the hypothetical stats, not like the real world stats. It's what they put on their promotional stuff, and it's like, no.
Right. No, he
my head about that.
He read the slick, yeah, like the advertising slick. Absolutely, that's where he gets all his numbers from. Yeah.
And how about you, Hafter? What was something that Vinny did that sort of showcased to you that he's not really with it?
I think Hafter. I think Hafta probably tried to get you to like come along on like a robbery, basically. And I don't know if you went or not, but if not, which I assume, it sounds like Vinny's kind of like a goody two shoes. So I'm assuming you didn't go, but I mean, maybe you surprised me. But regardless, I think whatever I brought back from that maybe like didn't sit well with you. I think I have like more a problem with like your attitude, and I have this idea of what you are that maybe like completely unfounded. So like I think all over Hafta is probably like, Vinny can't do anything.
No, that's a fair assessment. He would definitely come across as a goody two shoes. It's really more of just ignorance of the real world, right? And how it works. And yeah, he definitely wouldn't have gone on. He would have been like sort of mildly horrified that a mech pilot was a criminal. Like it never even occurred to him that was a thing that could exist in the world.
Well, criminal's a little strong. Hafta certainly wouldn't call himself a criminal.
I'm just a crime doer. I mean, I'm not a criminal.
So what if they happen around me?
So, of course, Ishikawa, the true veteran here, what are you seeing in Vinny that's showcasing his inexperience?
He talks a lot about his marksman stats and marksmanship statistics, his class qualifiers. It's fine. I've seen this. It's not even that annoying to Ishikawa. Just knows how to utilize that energy. So he takes it in stride. It's another thing where he holds it against the kid. He's seen too many of these guys come and go. And everybody cut their teeth somewhere.
That's what I was going to ask. You probably have your fair share of experience working with rookies.
Yeah.
In the military. Huh. How do you handle it when things don't go well for a fresh-faced young buck like Vinny?
Well, in the fleet, before we went mecha, in the fleet, there was enough structures, enough, secondary, tertiary backups to where one person's cark up wouldn't throw everything out of whack. Just throw the guy in the brig if he really blows it too bad. But in mecha combat, it's a whole different thing. I haven't dealt with a whole lot of rookies in mercenary work. Luckily, we've been able to keep this team pretty tight. So, yeah, it kind of works itself out most of the time in the fleet. In a mech, it's probably going to be a different kind of story. I'm a little interested to see how this turns out.
With that in mind, Ishikawa, as the ranking officer, so to speak, in this mercenary corps, you're sort of the one who's going to be leading this tactical mission, right? Now, as we've kind of discussed before, I don't want to put all of that responsibility on you, Rich, as a player necessarily. But if you have an idea about a maneuver that you might like to use, we can maybe talk about that. But I think looking at these maneuvers, when you're in a good position, they're pretty direct action options to look from here. If we turn to page something or other, I gotta open it up on one of my bajillion tabs here. It'll list the different maneuvers, and they're sort of organized by position. So you all did really well on your engagement roll previously. You got pretty lucky. So that means that you're at a pretty good position now. So you currently have 3 maneuvers available to you. But I'm thinking as I say this out loud that I might need to bring in a bit more action, a bit more of a target before we can really engage one of these. So we're looking at these maneuvers. For position 6+, we have a frontal assault. We have an ambush. We have a ranged bombardment, and we have a pincer attack. Now, the issue that I see is that I haven't really told you what's out here. All we've seen is one discarded mecha arm here. So because we all did so well in our engagement role, I'm going to give you a heads up of exactly what's going on here. And then you're going to have the element of surprise, so to speak. They are thinking that they have it, but indeed they do not. So there's 4 of you on this mission right now. Who do you think is currently operating sensors? Who is trying to get a read on radar, electromagnetic readings? Who's sort of your go-to sensor person?
What's the stat that depends on?
Well, we're not going to roll here in this situation. I'm just kind of curious who's getting this reading.
Oh, that's right. There is no stats in this game. This is so weird.
There is an action roll that we might take advantage of at some point, but
no, I mean, like, there's no statistics. This is a weird kind of World of Dungeons, Forged in the Dark,
right? You
combo,
might have a talent like that or something.
Yeah. I'd probably rely upon AFTA for that sensors maneuvers.
Sounds good. We can do that. So Hafta, you are operating a mecha that has some sort of biological component to it. The technology and biology have mixed. So in such a design, what form do you think your sensors take? And feel free to get as gross with it as you'd like.
I was like, how can I make this as macabre as possible? Oh man, okay, sensor equipment. I don't know if it's like, that's interesting. So I think that it's maybe it's probably like something from Ares Arm. It's some Ares Arms thing, equipment. But I think that like whereas a standard robotic mechanical mech might have proper interfaces for this, mine does not. So I think that there's like, I think what we have is, I'm just picturing this as some like array that I have to set up, right? So I think that, but the way I have to interact with it is there's this like, probably like very secondhand slapped together interface that I think like plugs into like the spinal cord of my mech, right? So I can have like this data in whatever my cockpit interface is. So it's as if I'm like literally hooking sensors into my mecha body. So like clicks on and like where there would be spinal, whatever those are called, spinal discs.
Like vertebrae or whatever you mean?
There we go. Yeah. It like is like, I don't know, hooking up to vertebrae.
Mm.
That doesn't feel good.
That's intense. Well, what your sensors are telling you is that we have 5 DAC-02 model Apex Industries, or I forget, Incorporated mecha here. And it looks as if they're all sort of, you can tell that they're active. You can tell by their heat emissions that they're active. You can tell by the sort of their shroud, their silhouette, that they're sort of poised in a, like, they're like crouching, so to speak. I'll share in the battle map, I will share an image of what these look like. And they've clearly sort of set up in such a way where they're expecting you to take the bait and go and look at these, at this hand, right? And then they're planning to ambush you. Like anybody could guess that from their position. So they're not in visual range, right? But you can tag them, and I'm imagining that we have some sort of advanced technology here where we all have this sort of battlefield augmented reality heads-up display sort of thing where we have targets outlined in red and cool stuff like that, right? So in terms of their position, I would say that there are probably 3 in hiding behind these mining towers. And then we'll say that there are 2 crouched in some of these platforms up top, sort of waiting to drop down on you. So you're technically outnumbered, but you have, they don't know that you know that they're up there. So in this sort of situation, Lieutenant Ishikawa, what do you think you would propose as a course of action here?
Checking. Oh, thank you. You stuck them in the. I just popped to the battle map. See, you stuck them in there. And I apologize for my 12-year-old who's just so excited by playing Roblox. Roblox.
I'm just thinking of that Kanye song now.
Right. My son has no cool. And so he doesn't maintain it. He doesn't keep it. He doesn't maintain it. I think the first thing I would do is throw Captain Gung Ho over here straight into the mix with those 3 mechs in the mining towers. They're in short distance, and his short-range weapons should mix, keep them from being able to push anything down. And then I would probably travel with Nox as we would try to shimmy our way up towards the upper mining platforms and depend on Hafta to kind of hang back and give support to. Sorry, I have to make sure I get the names right. So, Vinny.
Yes. So based upon, I'm imagining these positions that you're thinking everyone would do best in, it sounds like we have a bit of a pincer attack where Vinny's going in up close and everybody else is staying behind where it's a little bit more safe. So what is sort of your motivation behind putting Vinny in the front lines?
Twofold. He doesn't know that this is dangerous yet, and I trust have to pull his ass out if he gets in over his head. So he gets the first full wave, like right in the face of what this is about.
So Vinny, hearing that you're given this very auspicious role, how do you feel?
He feels honored that his commander trusts him to hold off the hordes of the enemy while the and to keep them at bay while the long range people can take them out. Because he views that as his job, is I'm going to keep them here. I'm going to hold the line. Where they are now. While everybody else is going to bombard them from distance. He's honored to be given such a high profile, upfront position.
Nice. Is there like some sort of ritual that you do, like a pre-game ritual?
Oh yeah. There's probably he probably starts under his breath, he starts speaking in Latin, and saying some prayer. And you guys don't know this, but he turns on some music in his inside his mech area. You might hear it over the comms, maybe. But it's sort of a heavy metal version of chanting monks. Again in Latin, that he doesn't understand because he doesn't actually know Latin. But like it gets him pumped up. Yeah.
Okay. I'm excited. So now that we kind of have an idea, if I had everyone's mecha pictures downloaded, I would just add your icons into these range boxes here. But what I'm just going to do to make things easier is add some text boxes instead. And I'll give them a little outline so people can see them. And if you just want to like put your name into where you are, that would be great. Or your icon if you're as adept as riches. Yeah, so the one thing I'm not fully certain of with these rules is whether the sort of range expectation that's listed on these maneuvers is mandatory or not. I think it's fine to just kind of go with the established fiction and work it out from there, right? So it's fine if Vinny is in melee as opposed to short. Another big distinction there. And since we have this nice sextupedal mecha here, I don't think you're having any issues with this dilapidated pavement, that might otherwise be unstable footing for a bipedal mech that sort of needs a flatter surface. I think that you're able to handle this just fine. So the next fun thing that we get to do is the engagement roll, but I'm interested in this extra little note here of each pilot rolling a d6. Okay. Let's just follow this note real quick. I think we can handle that. Does everyone have that link to the Roll for Your Party page that was listed in the NPCs and places? The rules here say range, all units short or far, but we're kind of going with that. Each pilot rolls a d6. If they roll 2 pairs, the stage is an automatic success. And if they roll 4 of a kind, the stage is an automatic critical success. So let's just start with that. And if that doesn't go our way, we'll go to the standard engagement roll. We've got a 1 coming in. What I'm going to do here, since I neglected to discuss our additional safety tool here, the X card. Del, if you see this this Roll for Your Party link, you probably haven't had much of a chance to play around with Roll for Your Party yet, have you?
You are correct. I've looked at it before, but I've never actually used it.
Okay, so let me break it down shortly here for you. Luckily, we're only going to be rolling D6s for this setting. So if you look at that top bar with all the boxes, you're going to see the D4, the D6, the D6P. The box left to that description is going to be the number of dice you want. So next to the D6, which is the six-sided die, if you type in 1, you're going to roll 1d6. And at the end of that line, you can also change the color. That can be helpful if you want to distinguish between ones that other people have already rolled. So, for example, I just rolled 1 yellow die by doing that. And then if you click on that die, it'll highlight it with a box, and you can actually move it around like so. And you can also, if you go to that second row of options, you could hit delete selected. The one you're not going to want to hit is clear, because that's going to clear the entire room, I think including the picture, the background, and all that stuff. So leave the clear button alone. But at the bottom row, you're going to see our safety tools. So if Roll for Your Party is working for you, it sounds like, Darren, maybe you're having some trouble with it, you can use that function to use the X card anonymously, which is great, and it's an awesome way to use that tool online in a way that we don't even have the capability of doing in person. But basically, if any content comes up that you find uncomfortable and would like erased, we hit the X card and we can discuss together a way that we can find another way to do that. If you hit that X card, it's going to give you a little box if you want to describe a little bit more about the content that you found objectionable in particular. That'll help us know how to do that. Otherwise, you can say X. You can say, I'd like to X card that. You can type it in the chat if you can't verbalize it, things like that. Cool. Okay, so let's talk about the results here. It looks like we have 3 1s and a 4. Is that right? As far as I can tell.
Yes, team, pick it up.
Well, I don't think that that's necessarily an issue, except for the fact that we have not rolled 2 pairs or 4 of a kind. We were close. We got 3 of a kind, but not 2 pair or 4 of a kind. I don't know anything about poker or Yahtzee, but shucks, I guess. Okay, so we did not get to take advantage of that short circuit option there. So now we're going to move on to the standard engagement roll, or the engagement stage. So the pilot in charge of the stage has selected the maneuver. If it has a special effect, it is resolved. That's resolved. The pilots will select their ranges based on the restrictions listed on the maneuver. We kind of know where everybody's at. We're cool with that. Step 3, the unit total of the first stat listed in the maneuver is compared to the enemy unit's total of the second stat. So with the pincer attack, it's checking speed versus weight. So more speed is good if you beat out their weight. So the same way that your weight class, if you're a lightweight, you have 1. If you're a standard weight, you have 2. Heavy 3, assault 4. It's sort of reversed. So if you are a where are we at? Character keeper. If you are, as David is, with Nox's Killer Spectre prototype, you have a weight class of 1, but you have a speed class of 4 because you're very fast. So what we're going to do is we're going to add up everyone's speed and compare that to these mecha. Now, I will say that these mecha are standard sized, which means that they will have 3 speed. or 2 weight, that is. So with 5 of them, they have a total of 10 weight. Okay. And if your speed manages to outpace their weight, you're going to get a +1 to your die pool. So let's do some calculation here. The Melior is fast. That's 3. The Killer Spectre is very fast. That's 7. The Mega Cycle 404 is also very fast, which is 11. I've run out of fingers. And I forgot what the name of your mecha model is, but this Vatican Industries heavy weight class is going to be 2, so 13. So you've managed to outspeed the weight of these mecha. Did you have a name for that one that I missed out?
No, I haven't come up with a name yet. I get just say Spider Knight for the moment. Spider Knight
works for me. Okay, so what we're basically all doing here is individually starting to build our own die pools. Then each of us are going to roll, and that's going to determine if we increase our position with this maneuver. Okay, so you start with the 1. That's a given. Because, oh wait, did I read this wrong? The pilot's unit's value is greater. Yes, I think I read it right. So you're all taking an additional die because collectively your speed is greater than their collective weight. And weight here meaning like their strength of arms and their sturdiness as well. When it comes to that, it's not just how heavy or slow they are. Cool. Now the GM will check if any environmental or situational factors improve or worsen the pilot's unit position. Okay. We'd kind of mentioned with the breakdown before the situation that you're in wasn't great. You know, you're walking into a planned ambush, but you do know that it's coming, right? So I'm going to just call that a wash, basically, right? They're still positioned in a good way. They're still put up a defensive position, but they don't necessarily have that element of surprise. So I'm going to call that a wash. If the pilot units outnumber the enemies, each pilot takes 1d. If they are outnumbered, they take -1d. So we're back to 1. If the pilot's weapon is in optimal range, they will add +1 to their die pool. So this is where we're going to look at our weapons individually and our positions on the map and see how we're doing. It sounds like we've all put ourselves in pretty good places. Vinny with that melee weapon is probably going to be getting a +1. Hafta, Nox are in far, and according to the Mega Cycle, you're also in far. Is that line up with your weapons? If so, keep a mental note to add an additional die to your pool. If not, don't worry about it. Cool. Each pilot then declares if they have a tag that can aid in the maneuver according to the fiction. So tags that you might have at your disposal include your specializations and possibly your talents and possibly your special systems as part of your mecha. So yeah, let's start with going by order of the character sheet here. Hafta, do you feel as if you have any tags that are applying to your situation?
Is this maneuver like after I've done this like sensory analysis?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But you're taking advantage of it, yeah.
Okay, that's good. Wait, what am I doing? Am I moving in? I mean, probably adaptable, right? If this was like trying to launch a surprise attack and this terrain is like kind of wonky,
Mm-hmm.
adaptable works.
Sounds right to me.
Yeah, but I think that's it.
Cool. So make sure you're adding 1 to your pool. How about Nox?
I mean, probably to help me get into the position that I'm in, but like jump jets would have helped me get in the position I'm in, but that's probably it.
Okay, so it sounds like we might have a bit of a wash for you. How about Ishikawa?
Well, the cycle is kind of a ground pounder. She doesn't have the cool jump jets, but I do have extreme range weapons and high caliber rounds, so I'm not too worried about that at all.
Yeah, so do you think, in terms of the range, where do you think that you're finding yourself in?
What's
Sticking,
the range for their far mechs? It seems like they're all the same brand, right? So what do I know of their range?
yeah, so based on these sensor readouts that you've been given, we have at least two that are up on these
No, I mean, what's the range of their weapons to
of their weapons.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that wasn't clear. That's what I mean.
Yeah. Perhaps we could do some sort of a knowledge roll here to determine what you know about
Okay.
this model. So let's check out these rules and see how we might do that. I'm imagining here this is either going to be a fortune roll or an action roll. Right? Action roll could be one. To disclaim decision making. Yeah, I guess I'd call this an action roll. So I think that this is going to be something that requires you to get into visual range. That the I'll give you a freebie here. The Apex mechs are known for their adaptability, flexibility, ubiquity, things like that. So they probably have lots of modules, plug and play sort of things. So you probably know that they have the ability. You don't necessarily know what weapons they're going to have equipped. And the more I think about this, I don't really want to make this a roll here. I want to get to the combat. We already have other die pools in our heads. So I would say that you can kind of hypothesize what sort of weapons that they would have equipped based on their position, right? So these sort of mecha you would imagine would probably prefer to stay at a far range. They look kind of like artillery types, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
This sort of would prefer to sit back and shoot rifles from a farther distance, right? That maybe not super maneuverable, that maybe not super fast. A lot of artillery is going on with these. So the fact that they have 3 in the short range must mean that they have attached some module that performs better in the short range, perhaps to perform a specific task.
Okay.
So I'll give you that much.
So would I be able to kind of ride around in extreme range and pepper them from there?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, that's my plan.
Cool. So it sounds like since you have that extreme weapon specialization on your mech, that you're going to be in a favorable position here.
That's the plan.
Okay. Going back to our engagement stage here. Yeah, so with that information, looking at your tags, high-speed driver might be coming into play for you then with this specific action you're taking, trying to stay out of range, pepper them, not get shot.
Yep, that makes total sense to me.
Cool. So you'll be adding a die there. All right. Skipping over here to Vinicius. You have mecha knowledge and you have communications. So do you think at this time you're leveraging your knowledge of mecha?
Yeah, definitely. That's probably sort of a default tactic of his, period, is, oh, I know what this mecha can do. And like you mentioned the plug and play, and I recognize that it has that module. I can see the marking from here and that kind of stuff. So yeah, he definitely would try to use mecha knowledge.
Cool. And I think that at some point here, Brawler is probably also going to ping for you too, because you are
Correct.
getting into melee combat. So keep that in mind with your pool and the number of fingers you're holding up in your mind, or in person. I can't see. Where are we at? Checks if the terrain each pilot is on will improve or worsen their position and adjust their die pools accordingly. I don't think you're necessarily, if anyone is in a poor terrain, I don't really have any like scrub out here that you're stuck in, or any brush, or sand pit or other golf related poor terrains. So I'm going to call that a wash, also to make things simpler. And then we have an opportunity to spend edge as well, or an overt boost to increase your die pools. So before you make that decision, because right now most of our pilots have one edge, but our lieutenant has two. And an overt boost is something that would check your stress die. Let's look at what would happen if you rolled well with your dice pool. Okay, so let's look at step 10. Each pilot is going to roll their dice. And again, if you get a 6, you get a success. If you get 2 or more sixes, it's a critical success. If you get a partial or full success, you're going to increase your position by 1. Your position is at 6, which means if everyone succeeds here, mission success. We've hit the 10, and we are good to go. But if some of those are from partial successes, right, you're going to be suffering a moderate consequence as well, which I can add before or after the following step, contributing to player narration. Does that make sense there? So where are we at die pool wise? How many are you going to be rolling with, from what you can tell?
I don't know. 2, 3?
I mean, you go with what feels right. And again, we're starting with 1, adding 1 for outspeeding, but then we're losing that for being outnumbered. It's a wash for, I forget too how many we're at. There's like 9 steps here.
Probably 2, because I said my adaptable specification is probably good.
Okay, cool. You're adaptable, and I'm going to give you 1 for utilizing your sensors, so you're 3 then. Are you at an ideal range for your weapon?
No. Well, I mean, I guess if I'm going to interact with the 2 that are all so far, then yes.
They're short range, is that right, these blasts?
Yeah, I don't think they're... Yeah, short range. Yeah.
Okay, so since you're only 1 distance apart, I won't say that you're disadvantaged, but you're not advantaged. Yeah, so it sounds like you're at 3. And you're trying to get 1 6 out of there, so that's maybe not great odds. But if you get a 4 or 5, you have pretty decent odds of getting one of those. You can spend an edge, or you can spend an overt boost, and you're going to roll on your D8 to see if your mech is stressed by that. How many do you think you're going to want to roll?
I think I'm just going to roll 3.
Okay. Knox, how about yourself? Where you at?
I think I have just 2.
Okay.
Right.
From there, do you think you're going to spend edge, or are you going to push your mech to the limit with your overclocking nature? Try to get an extra die from an overt boost.
Yeah, I think I'll do the edge thing.
Okay. Smoke him if you got him. So that'll bring you up to 3, and you're just going to mark down your edge. Ishikawa, have you been counting?
I got the one extra when we first started off. I've got one from the driver, and
We're in ideal range, right?
I'm in ideal range. Did they give another one?
Yeah, so I think it should be a 3 for those.
And then when rolling with weight class and combat, roll at +1d for high caliber rounds. Does that apply here or not? I'm not sure what that means.
Sounds like it. If you have high caliber rounds, yeah.
Which I do. High caliber rocks. And so yeah, I think I'm just gonna roll with the 4.
Okay. Vinny, where you at?
I think I'm also at 4. So 1 to start, right? The 1 from brawling, 1 from mecha knowledge, and 1 from ideal range.
All right.
Because I'm just smacking with my flail.
Let's roll it and see what happens from there. And ideally, after we've rolled, if you succeed, you might look at the narrative prompts from that maneuver list and use it to describe how you succeed. From what I can tell, it's supposed to be like a little bit of a short montage, where kind of cutting between the different mecha acting out their combat, right? You don't have to use that prompt if you don't want to, but it's helpful if you could use a little narrative gimme to help describe your actions. How did we do? We got dice bundled up everywhere. I'm not sure who belongs to what.
Yeah.
We got a 1, a 4, and a 5 over here from somebody. That means we got a partial success.
Yeah.
Ooh, we got some pretty turquoise dice out there. I'm loving the new color option, Shane. If you're listening in the future.
So I'm the red, so I think but I see 5 reds, and I only meant to roll 4.
Well, if you're not certain, you can click them all and clear them out. Or unless somebody else rolled reds, I don't think so. Try again.
Okay, yeah. Sorry about that.
No big deal.
Delete. There. Delete. There. So 4, 7.
At least this isn't Shadowrun, right? Our dice would be rolling all over each other.
So that's much cleaner, yeah. So I got a 4, so that's partial success.
Okay. Comrade Turquoise, looks like we got some 3s from you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Rich, were you this lime individual with snake eyes?
I was not. I am
you're on the side. I see now.
4.
Okay. So when we double check our rules here, that will inform us. We have 3 partial successes and 1 miss. Okay. Let's do this way. We have mostly success, but then 1 failure. I think it'd be interesting for everyone to describe their success, and then we're going to talk about how Nox did not do so well. Okay. Looking at position first, it's been increased by 3, but then also reduced by 1. So our position is now up to 8. So technically a success there. Well done, everyone. But now we're going to talk about consequences. So let's go backwards here. Ishikawa, you're sort of leading this thing here. In what way is your would you describe your actions being successful in this combat encounter?
Oh, well, since both Nox and I are trying to pick off the two that are in far range on the upper mining platforms, I imagine that the mega cycle is just kind of zooming around on a very long, extreme range, like a big long arc, right? And the Gauss gun pops up from the cockpit area and fires off. And yeah, it's firing from safe distance and just sighting in and lining that sucker up, just kind of popping up the platform until we're able to pop one of them.
Sounds good. As this has not been a critical success, we're not seeing any enemy vehicles being destroyed as of yet. But we are seeing is how you're at least causing them to need to hunker down. I'm imagining that this is them losing any sense of superiority or ambush that they'd had previously. But an easy, moderate consequence to give somebody with high caliber rounds and that ammo tag is to say that your ammo is now depleted. So you were able to pepper them and cause some covering fire and some flanking fire here, but you've run out of ammo. So you're not going to be able to rely on that weapon. And since you have this very lightweight, very fast mecha, you don't necessarily have a bunch of ammo reserves, and you don't have any secondary holdout weapons. So at the time, you might be a little bit dead in the water. Maybe they don't know that. Let's get over to Vinny then. You definitely managed to achieve some success here. Go ahead and describe to me how you are successfully battering at these three mecha who thought that they were so cleverly disguised or hidden. Still with us there, Dell? Did you hear me?
I muted myself when I'm talking into my mute button.
Oh,
apologize for that. So he went charging straight down the line, right at the center one, typical gung ho style, right? But at the last second he cuts to the left and smacks the leftmost one with the flail right across the chest. And what he's attempting to do is to knock him into the middle one. Knock one mech into the other mech to try to like tie him up for a while. Because he knows he's got the stability advantage, and he can if he can get him down on the ground, they're done for. So that was his attempt. With just a partial success, he probably didn't succeed at knocking him down, but he did do some damage of knocking one into the other. So yeah, that's what a success looks like. Didn't quite get what he wanted, which was getting him on the ground. Because then he just owns him, but he did some damage.
You know, I'm super here for a mech with a flail going in and going all out Black Knight on these guys. I'm going to say that you're sort of able to draw them out from kind of behind this position that they're at. You're able to draw them out. And yeah, you're sort of keeping them at bay with this large flail. But you're going to notice, since you're so perceptive on these mecha, specifically which module they've attached is. Okay. And that is, it's a large bore cylinder here, larger than you would normally see on a rifle. And they are EMP nets. So what they have here are nets that are designed to paralyze and demobilize a mecha, right? So as you're busy trying this cool maneuver that you saw in a holographic video one time, right? Another one is sort of comes to the side and hits you with one of these nets. and I think that one of your legs is sort of currently demobilized, so you're going to have difficulty maneuvering at this time. Go ahead and mark off one of your structural components there. So additionally, one more thing I want to touch on for you here, Vinny. These mecha are not there's some elements to them that are unfamiliar to you, that don't match the slick, that don't match the advertisements that you've seen and the technical readouts that you've read. It looks like each one has some individual customization. Each one has some they look like some non-standard repairs have been done to some of them. They look a little bit cobbled together, which I don't know how you feel about that, but it's something that you would notice as someone who's familiar with a very particular image of a mecha in mind. Cool. So we're seeing Vinny out there crushing it with his flail. How about you, Nox? Wait, Nox was a failure. How about you, Hafta? What are you doing here with your cool fission beams, right? Or did you have something else in mind?
I don't know. Yeah, I guess I'm just blasting them.
So we've established that you're probably sticking to some of these upper platforms as a way to keep without getting too close to range. Is that right? Or do you think, are you seeing the Longinus or the Melior kind of popping in and out, weaving in between these spires?
I don't know. Am I like, are these are people like on these platforms?
Yeah,
we have platforms.
You could be. You could have climbed up one with your freakish joints. And again, if you're feeling a little stymied here as far as what sort of a description you can offer, you can check out those narrative prompts under the pincer maneuver. They might give you an idea.
I mean, yeah, I guess like the idea would be like quick strikes.
Yeah.
Sort of like harrying attacks. I think I'm confused about what like what are we're like in combat.
Mm-hmm.
We're well past like an engagement roll, right?
That's the idea. But this is our first sort of interchange also. Or exchange. What were you thinking?
I don't know. I thought we like I didn't know. I just didn't know. I have no idea.
Well, that's all right. Let's take a moment here and let's just kind of gain some clarification, some understanding. You know, I'm cool with pumping the brakes a little bit. What do you need to get a grasp?
Well, I think I'm fine with. I just I think I was thinking too much of blades when I was thinking of like engagement rolls and I guess the maneuver roll and then the engagement stage. So I think I was just behind, like conceptually.
Well, this may just be my inexperience with blades showing. But yeah, tell me more about what did you think was going on, and then what ended up actually going on in your mind.
Oh, I thought we like hadn't started yet. I was thinking like we discussed the sensory things and like determining positions, and like we were talking about how the combat was going to occur. And then I thought the like 4 rolls was we were somehow doing that as like the engagement roll. And then I didn't realize that was like that's how I guess the first half of combat is going.
My bad. So I think that our engagement roll is kind of that process we went through last session where we set up what this mission is like going in, and we had that sort of back and forth with Administrator Walker. And that's what gave us that initial position of 6, which
right.
kind of told us how this mission is starting off for us. And I may be doing this wrong, but I had kind of interpreted it that at this engagement stage, that these roles are sort of determining how successful our actions are in combat. Again, I might be interpreting that wrong, but that's sort of what I was thinking. So
Yeah,
your role there, I was imagining, was determining your success in
Yeah.
acting out your part in the pincer maneuver. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I'm following now. I think I really was just in too much of a Blades mindset. So I was thinking like, yeah, I don't know. Okay, so I think I understand now.
Okay, great. Mixed success. So you're able to increase your position. Your actions here are furthering your position on the battlefield, your winning rate. But there's going to be a partial consequence here. So you tell me a little bit of how you're successful, and I can tell you a little bit of how there's a consequence to that.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I like this idea. I don't know if Ishikawa and I ever like very like clearly communicated that he wanted me to kind of like watch out for Vinny. But I kind of like that idea. Still somehow if I'm like kind of the second or I'm like learning how to be this like squad leader, that I would maybe like just get it. So I think that I would be trying to like get closer to melee range so that I could more directly support and like help out Vinny. So I don't know, maybe this is like I get into position by while you take blank instead.
So I'm imagining here you're backing up Vinny, and he's about to get kind of flanked by these electro shock nets, right? And we know he's caught one on the leg already, but I'm imagining you're going to sort of be able to dive in front of the bullet dramatically and defend him from one that was sort of catching his broadside. So what does that look like? Like you're a sort of a acrobatic mecha as far as the other ones are concerned. What structural component do you think is blocking this blow and taking this consequence?
I mean, well, I guess there would be like this heavy armor, right? Like,
yeah, you can shed that and not even deal with it.
Oh, I don't know if I want to shed it yet. I have like armor. Can I just minus that? Is that how armor works?
That's right. So when it comes time to repair, you're going to need to replenish that, but that's going to be easier than trying to repair a whole component.
Okay, well, I think what that looks like narratively, instead of just like doing math,
Yes.
is the +1 armor is from the Aegis talent, but I've been picturing that because I don't know how you get armor from an Aegis talent, but I like that it's actually like a component of the mech. Maybe it's something intrinsic to the Longinus design, where it's this sort, or it's like an energy field, right? So it's just like a force field, nothing too crazy. So I think maybe we see it if I'm like maybe diving off of a platform to intercept this attack on Vinny. And maybe you see a Melior like leap to the ground and roll to like mitigate the impact, and like at the same time this like electronet is like coming down, and it's like you see the shattering force field, right? So somehow optically you visually see that on screen, shattering as if it were glass or something, maybe.
Very cool. So Nox, what is it that you intended to do?
I mean, I think I was just on top of one of these tower things shooting, but maybe I wasn't up there yet. I don't.
Yeah, I mean,
I was just gonna try and shoot one from long distance.
So I'm thinking here too. You know, you're taking a severe consequence here, but you're trying your best to keep your distance and not necessarily get sucked into the throng of things here, right? What do you think is the worst thing that could happen in this situation for you?
I mean, if I didn't make the jump, that would be bad. Or I overshot the jump and somehow didn't land up there. Or if I was already up there and was shooting at them and just like depleted all my ammunition, that would be pretty bad. Or like if something broke, that would be bad. I don't know how reliable these mechs are, but yeah, I don't know. Those are all bad things I can think of.
So I think all of these things are going through your mind as you're kind of going into this combat, right? You've been doing your best to we established to try to drown out the sounds of these machines, right? This rhythmic gooch, and you've been trying to play this loud music to sort of like soothe your nerves and calm yourself down. And all of these consequences are running through your mind, right? When something unexpected happens, looking at the time, it's 6:20. We're going to take a quick 5-minute bio break while I figure out what that is. So I'll see you all at 25. So I have an idea, David.
Yeah.
But I will say, you do have the lucky talent after double checking your character sheet,
It's true.
which means once per mission, you can avoid a bad outcome.
Well, that's good.
Do you want to do that now or maybe later?
I mean, just go ahead and do that now. I think.
Good call. Let's hope there aren't any more bad outcomes, right? Okay.
So what does that mean? I just get that mid result?
Yeah, that's what I think we'll do.
You count. That didn't work.
So I'll say that you still, we're still going to reduce the position by 1. Well, no, that doesn't make much sense. That would bring us up to mid result, which means mild consequence, but medium success.
Okay.
Right. I'm probably saying the wrong words here. Moderate consequence, partial success. Position is increased by 1. So this is actually going to be enough to bump us up to a 10. So the mission is going to be completed. We will describe what that looks like. But first I want to talk about your partial success. So the unexpected thing that happens is that this all goes perfectly according to plan. Despite all of your misgivings and all this whole laundry list of things that could go bad, you don't undershoot or overshoot the platform. You don't expend all of your ammo gunning away at this mecha up here. In fact, you're able to disable it completely. And we've established here that your mecha is kind of like a hard suit almost, right? And that it's not you're sort of your arms are the arms and your legs are the legs in a way, right?
Yeah. It looks like it stands like, I don't know, 18 feet tall, maybe.
Cool. So your arm, these rifles you have, these dropkick rifles, 84 caliber, right? What does it look like when they shoot? Is it like a auto fire, rapid fire thing? Is it like a giant revolver? What sort of look do we have these?
No, they're just like really big. They're just really big rifles that will fire like semi-automatically. Like it would be unmanageable if they were firing fully automatic. Because they shoot. They're called dropkick rifles because they shoot these massive, super heavy, like depleted uranium rounds that are incredibly heavy for their size, and the purpose is to like penetrate into something and like offset its balance and like push it over.
Well, so I think we see one of these rounds. This mecha is enough in the center of this platform that it doesn't fall off completely, but we just see this round just punch right through the center of this cockpit, right? And it's on 4 legs, but we sort of see them kind of like collapse under this weight, right? And the hatch of this mecha opens, and we see someone start to crawl out. We see a hand sort of reach up and try to pull themselves out of the cockpit, right? And the person that kind of manages to pull themselves out, bleeding and probably not long for this world. They're not wearing any sort of corporate uniform. They're not wearing any sort of Apex soldier outfit or any distinguishing military gear. In fact, they kind of just look like a scrapper, right? They got like a collection of different fur coats and things like that. And I think your mecha is one that is, you have the most like personal connection in combat to people, right? Because you are embodying your mecha in a way that's even more human, except for maybe Melior, who might have like a digestive system for all I know. But you're very close to this person to the point where you could see them with your own eyes if you lifted up your cockpit, and they're just sort of reaching out to you. And I think this means you're going to take a scar.
That sounds fair.
So what do you feel that's causing such a traumatic experience for you when you see this?
I think I'd like enhanced my vision so that I could see, because it's a long shot, you know, but like well within the capabilities of this rifle. So when they crawled out, it was like they were right in my face, and they look like they remind me of somebody I knew when they were crawling out.
So if we had to give a word to describe this scar, what do you think you would use?
Flashbacks.
Okay. Well, we might come back to revisit that and discuss that in a moment. But the victory cry is rung out. You've won. Why are you so down on yourself here, Nox? This mission is a success. So what that means mechanically, now that you've managed to bring us to a 10 position, combat is concluded with an enemy position reduced to 0. It's a total victory, a glorious breakthrough. The enemy is wiped out without cost. The enemy line collapses. All objectives are completed. And if we recall, our primary objective here was to determine the cause of the disappearance of the previous mecha, the Mirai Symposium contingent that had been placed here. And then your secondary objective is to discourage future sabotage, which you've done here. So, Vinny, I'm going to hand this to you. Determine the cause of the disappearance. Because you're sort of our dude on the ground. You're up close, and you've been hit by some of these electrical nets here. If your primary objective was to determine the cause of disappearance, go ahead and tell me what your theory is, and it will be correct. You might be talking into the muted microphone again. Are you with us, Del?
Yes, I am. Okay, so can you repeat the question again? I'm sorry.
Yes. So our primary objective with this task was to determine the cause of the disappearance of these Marai mechs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm giving it to you since you were our dude on the ground.
Okay.
I'm going to let you speculate, and you're basically going to be correct. So I'm giving you full fictional power here to describe what the cause of the disappearance was.
A disappearance of the mechs. Okay, so some of the not so much mech pilots, but some of the support staff, and their sort of went native. They got a little too close to the locals of the planet, that were being abused by the corporations, and a combination of sabotaging the mechs and just outright stealing them, right? So they're not so much disappeared as in enemy hands. They disappeared from Mirai's view, but they're still out there somewhere, or at least some of them are. So yeah, that's most of it. It's kind of an inside job of some of the pilots and some of the support staff went native and decided to abscond with company materials.
Okay, I like that. Furthermore, Hafta, why don't you tell us how we can determine that? How is it clear that these Mirai mech pilots had rebelled? What did you see that hinted you about that?
I think maybe it's two things. Maybe like if we have the chance to like investigate the maybe we find that they had been like repainted or like serial numbers have been filed off, that sort of thing, and we're able to like deduce somehow that that it was Mirai property instead of like the other company Apex.
Like maybe some of those like customizations or repairs were from the Mirai Max, you're thinking?
And then or perhaps tied to that, maybe if we like hook back up to the sensor array, we can like recalibrate it to look for Mirai units instead of Apex units and find more information that way. Something like that.
I like it. A lead for our next mission, perhaps. And I think furthermore, Knox, when you investigate the dog tags around the neck of this dead pilot, you see that they're attributed to Mirai. So I'll let you know. Okay. Lieutenant Ishikawa, this was a successful mission. Additionally, you have achieved your secondary objective of discouraging future sabotage. How have you done that?
I think we put word out that we've laid proximity mines in specific areas around the particular, like this designated area. And the rumor of it after the devastating defeat of these interlopers is enough to keep out anyone else that would try to sabotage.
Okay. Rumors of prox mines and tales of your victory. And we had a complete success here in our first round, right? This means that we've really managed to route this contingent, right? These 5 mecha. Knox, tell me what you decided to do with the rest of them. Did you let them flee? Have you captured them and their mechs? Did you destroy them and their mechs? What did we do here?
I think their morale broke, and they like decided to just try and abandon their mechs and flee on foot. Like they thought if they tried to run in their mechs, they'd get shot in the back. So they took the chances that like they would be too hard to hit if they were just little people running for it, and that we might not bother because like what are they going to do?
Okay. Yeah, so with possession of these Apex mechs, you know, I imagine that those could be sold for for scrap or salvage, which Administrator Walker would be happy to hear about, or you could sell them yourselves, whatever your mercenary minds are inclined to do. But I think once you have a chance to kind of get closer inspection of these mechs and their weaponry and their modules, it's clear that probably their intention with these electronets was to try to disable these new mechs and gain more weapons and infantry for their rebellion. So it looks like they weren't necessarily trying to kill you. You know that much at least. Okay, time for our mission evaluation, where we all get graded on our performance. We are going to look to we already did the battle map. Mission clock. Mission performance evaluation. and then we get to award experience. So let's ask these questions together, answer them together. Did the team complete their primary objective? Yes. Did they complete at least one secondary objective? Yes. Did they complete all of their objectives? Yes. Did the team avoid taking heavy damage? It sounds like we only had 1 or 2 structural components damaged, so I would say yes. There's a +1. Just scrolled away. Did the team overcome overwhelming odds? Well, you were outnumbered and you were in kind of a crummy situation, but it sounds like this wasn't necessarily overwhelming odds. So I would say that's a +4. With a 4 of a score, that means that you get an S rank, which means everyone gets 2 experience for each pilot. Now, Ishikawa, is there anyone that you would grant meritorious conduct to? Do you think that anyone performed exceptionally well in this mission and should be rewarded accordingly?
If it were to be anyone, it would probably be Hafta.
Yeah. So Hafta sort of worked in a way that was within your wishes without necessarily needing your orders. Is that right?
Well, technically, I did say Hafta, I want you to back him up, but that's that's fine. That's fine. Yes, Hafta followed orders and intuited even greater ability since we did this all one roll. So yeah, Hafta was amazing.
Yay! So 2 experience for everybody, but 3 for Hafta. Isn't that satisfying?
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Very cool. So I don't know if that means if anyone leveled up or not, but if you did, well done. Way to go.
Yep, I did.
But now, I would like to take some time to do downtime. I've been waiting for 1.5 sessions to do this. One thing about this game is that downtime is very freeform. There aren't exactly a lot of rules or mechanics to engage with at this time. So I'm feeling we should just take some time to sort of set some scenes and talk about how this mission went. Maybe pair up and talk one-on-one. And we'll see how that goes. Does anyone have a scene in mind that they would really like to see during this downtime phase? Two characters they would really like to see interact. If so, go ahead and speak up while I double check the rules here and make sure that I'm not missing any other rules.
I'll do one with Vinny, if you would like to do one, Vinny. Maybe not. Del, do you want to do a scene between Vinny and Hafta?
Sure. Do you have anything particular in mind? What the scene will look like, or?
Yeah, I don't know. If I forgot what we said. But if we have like a boat or something, maybe it's I don't know, wherever we're doing like R&R basically. And the scene, I mean, I think Hafta basically just wants to make fun of you for having saved your life. maybe it wasn't that bad.
No. That fits the personalities involved totally. So during an R&R scene, I'm imagining like he's reliving his glory of the battle because this battle went as bad as it could for him because it went well. That was a horrible thing to happen, given his personality. Because now he's going to even be more cocky and more gung ho. He really needs to get his ass handed to him so that he understands, and that didn't happen. So he's got like like 3 cameras or 3 screens set up of different views of the battle, where he's like going through and watching it in slow-mo, and it's got like overlays of the damage done and the stats, and he's like super excited about it, and he's like talking to himself a little bit about it, like, oh, I should have done this there. Yeah, I could have leaned a little bit more on this leg, and got a bit more weight into that flail. So I'm totally setting it up for you to make fun of him, because this is ripe for making fun of.
Hey, Benny, were you taking notes, doing like a post-game analysis?
Right. Exactly.
I mean, like in character. I think that's how he would approach you. I mean, you should probably take notes on your form. Seems like you rushed in there, right?
Right. Yeah, totally. And he's a little bit honest with himself of like, I could have done better here, now viewing this. But mostly he's just 90% of it is boasting about how awesome he did. Right. And he seems like, from, you're an experienced combat veteran, so he's a little bit in awe of you, right? Yeah. Like, oh, if you have any critiques or anything, I'm more than willing to take any notes you might have. And he like literally pulls out like a pen and an electronic notepad and looks at you all expectantly.
I mean, I think Hafta will walk around and unplug your monitors. At that point, he was like, "Oh, you need to pay attention. Did you even see Nox? Did you even see what he was doing? Were you too worried about your glory?"
He'll get like a concerned look on his face, like Nox, and like he'll look down at like a paper schematic he had written. Now that you turned off the monitors, right? Well, he was over here, so I couldn't really see him when I was in combat. And he starts making sort of like slightly lame excuses, right? He was support. He's supposed to be supporting me, not the other way around. Which is total BS. And he seems a little butthurt that you're not, joining in on this self-congratulatory.
Yeah, I mean, like Hafta probably leans on those monitors. He's like, backing you up doesn't mean we're here to save your ass. Open your eyes, Vinny.
He seems to get like upset, and he suddenly gets really, really quiet, and doesn't want to make eye contact with you anymore. Apparently, I'll take it under advisement. And before, where he was like very, very confident and clear worded, all of a sudden he's stuttering the slightest bit. And like looking down at his pad and paper. And avoiding eye contact. The praiseworthy look has vanished. To be replaced by embarrassment.
All right. Well, I'll see you in the hangar. You're gonna help me recalibrate my shield, right?
Sure.
It's the least you can do. Don't do it. Hafta will stalk off. He's had his word.
Awesome.
Okay, I like it. I'm only half disappointed that Vinny wasn't blown up, but you all just did so well with your engagement rolls and mission rolls that he's still alive and kicking and has that inflated sense of self. Maybe we'll have a chance to deflate that soon, but we'll see. Yeah, anybody else have a scene that they would like to do?
I definitely want to check in with Nox.
So in terms of setting this scene, like what it might look like, we do have the Mobile Operating Center, the MOC, which is basically like a large cargo container, almost in a way, with like a tractor trailer in the front, but space. But that's sort of broken down into different components. You have the hangar bay, you have the repair bay, we have the cabins, and then we have the sort of probably Spartan common area, right? You're here on a job. You can have some R&R. You can have some shore leave when after you get picked up. Where do you think you would find, or maybe I'd ask you, David, where would Nishikawa find Nox?
I think that Nox is just tooling around with her mech. Like, there's nothing wrong with it, but she's just trying to cope and like fiddling with the operating system and like trying to like try different things with the mech, like just its computer systems and things like that. Like, keeps her occupied, and she's just like listening to like music super loud on like headphones and doesn't see Lieutenant Ishikawa like coming.
She smells the cigar smoke before she hears or sees him. And Ishikawa calls up, Nox! Holds up another cigar. He's got one sticking out of his mouth.
Yeah, like you see her like tense when she like smells the smoke. She clearly can't hear you because like her music's way too loud, but she tenses when she smells the smoke and like turns around and like puts her headphones around her neck and it's like, Lieutenant, what's going on?
Victory cigar.
That's real cool, but maybe like a rain check. I don't know if I've got.
It's interesting how you thought that was a request, and then he slides the cigar into his front shirt pocket, and I imagine there's one of those like those ladders that's like the step ladder type deal, and he starts climbing his way up towards you.
Yeah, and she'll like slam like one of the component pieces down to like cover up whatever she was working on, and like pull the plug out of like a really, really long like corded headset, and like that makes like the speakers on whatever her music device are like play the music real loud, and then she'll like hit the stop button and like give you a little like half salute and like, fine, whatever your orders are.
Hands her the cigar,
and she takes it and like then kind of gets like real quiet.
He's a little bit of a flourish with his little Zippo thing, and then he turns it to the side. It's one of those like you turn side and the flame like jets up type deal.
Mm. And
all right.
Yeah, I mean she'll light up and then just like sit there quietly until you ask her that question, and she's kind of roll her eyes like, what do you mean? Am I all right? Of course I'm all right. Like, I don't see you checking on everyone else like they're all right.
I already checked on everybody else. Except for Vinny, I didn't check on him.
Fucking kid.
That's fine. He'll earn his stripes.
Guess he did all right. I don't know. Look, it's kind of messed up, right? I mean, they weren't even trying to fight us after we got to look at it. You saw that too, right? Like they weren't going to fight us.
Easy money.
Fuck, is that like, I get it. Like, I'm down for like an easy buck too, but do we like, can we at least like be fighting somebody who's out there for a fight?
We didn't know that going in. Walker gave us half-assed intel.
Some bullshit. That's what I think.
Yeah. That's why I talked about the prox mines. Hopefully, the rest of these, whatever resistance group, will stay away, and we won't have to hurt anybody else.
Are we still gonna take jobs from them? I mean, this is they didn't want the PR. They didn't want the PR from gunning down civilians.
Those civilians had some mighty nice mechs.
Yeah, without real weapons.
True. Sure, we're fighting a proxy war. And that will be part of our next negotiation. Better intel. And if we're going to be their fucking patsies, they're going to pay through the nose for it.
Smoke your victory cigar yourself. Just like sets it down. Puts her headphones back on and like plugs it back in and presses play.
Ishikawa takes his cigar and stuffs it back in his pocket, and y'all head back down.
Anybody else have a scene that we want to do before we hop over to Administrator Walker again? Or any long-term project you'd like to maybe start working on? Anything along those lines?
I want to do... Oh, you want to do maintenance? Is that a thing?
Yeah, so basically, your armor is going to be able to be repaired. Your energy shield sort of over time is able to recuperate. If you take structural damage, you could have rolled, but you're good.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, other than that, was there anything anybody want to do? Going once, going twice.
So there are long-term projects. I know in Blades, there's like something about reducing heat, which doesn't seem applicable here. Training. What other downtime actions are? I'm sorry, I'm sure I could find it in the doc, but we'll have it a little bit.
Here's some suggestions that they have. You have acquire materiel, which I think means like weapons and ammo and good stuff like that. You can work on your mecha, maybe if you wanted to add a subsystem or customize it in some way to do something, which would probably give you some tag.
I'd like to do a thing so I don't run out of ammo in the first volley. I don't know what that is, but that was embarrassing.
Yeah. Very cool. What do you think you have in mind? Are you looking to customize and add ammo belts or a secondary weapon?
Either of those, all those things. I'll do research on both to see which one allows me to stay at the very fast. Like, I'm willing to risk taking some extra damage, but I am not decreasing my speed because otherwise, like, why would I even be in a very fast vehicle this tiny?
Sounds good. Since this is a short mission, I'm going to give you a 4-segment clock. We're going to do a fortune roll to see how much you managed to acquire at this time. Are you going to bring any of your fellow pilots in on this?
Oh,
task?
yeah, I have to. You know, he's training to be my replacement.
Is that so?
Yeah. I mean, whether he wants to or not.
Yeah. We can do that. So, how do you think you're helping with this this project in particular?
You just want to? Well, yeah. So if you want to add more ammo, essentially, I imagine Ishikawa and Hafta's relationship revolves mostly around Hafta being able to do math very well and quickly.
Doesn't hurt.
So I think that, yeah, I think that maybe your Hafta is insanely bored, and maybe the deal is that you let me smoke in the hangar as I rattle off like weight distribution and like nitty gritty numbers to find that space where we can put like more bullets.
That sounds great.
I mean, this is all one big math problem, basically, right? Trying to balance speed with ammunition and how we can improve that. So you're just doing some accounting here. I would say just for fictional, like how the fictional situation is applying to this role. Yes, you're on a backwoods planet where there's not a lot of resources. There's not a lot of professionals or experts out here. But, you also are working closely with a corporation that maybe has some resources or something that they would be interested in, improving for you. So I'm going to call that a wash there. So
Okay.
go ahead and roll two dice for this fortune roll, and we'll see if we're knocking off any clocks here.
Got a 6 and a 2.
Full success. Things go well. As far as I'm concerned, that means I'm marking off at least one clock segment, unless they have specific rules, which I'm scrolling down to see. Two segments on that clock. Cool. So you're halfway through discovering exactly how you can have some more ammo. Maybe by session 2, you'll be able to do that. Or session 3, that would be. So I saw that you unmuted Darren when it was time. Did you have another scene you wanted to do or another thing you want to touch on?
I was thinking about long-term projects. Long-term projects are so fun, but I honestly don't know what I would do. So I'm okay just moving on.
So it sounds like we're going to have good old Hafta and Ishikawa back in the negotiation room with Administrator Walker. But I think I'm going to be cutting back and forth between you two and Vinny and Knox as well. Try to keep things lively. So I don't want Dell to be not get enough spotlight tonight in his first game. So while the grown-ups are off doing their talking, Vinny and Knox, what kind of hijinks do you think you're getting up to? Babysitters aren't around.
Any ideas, Knox?
I think I don't tell Vinny this, but what I'm doing is like I'm preparing to leave. Like I'm done with this outfit. But I'm not going to tell anyone that. And I'm just like, hey, grab some of that. That'd be funny, right, Vinny? Wouldn't that, Saint? Come on. And like, it makes no sense. Like, no one would think it's funny, like, to just grab all my shit and help me pack it.
He sort of awkwardly like helps you out of like just habit reaction from years in the military. But he starts getting like a confused, like are you trying to go get some more ammo or something?
Yeah, got to make sure we're good and loaded for the next mission, right? I mean, that's half the point. Then we're gonna go redecorate some pretentious asshole's office after that. How's that sound?
So let's cut to that office.
Okay.
We see Administrator Walker back in her window, and something about her posture seems a bit more confident at this point. I think she's standing up very straight. She's facing the window. Her arms are sort of interlocked behind her back, standing very upright. She's feeling a bit better about this situation here. And then, the two of you are ushered into her office. Well done. Well done. Tell me more about what you uncovered during your mission. So I think she's looking at you, Ishikawa, but are you planning on letting Halfta lead this, or what do you think? As far as your training?
it's not going to go well, and so I'm happy leading off this conversation. Administrator Walker, the opposition we faced were poorly trained citizens who were thrown into mechs without weapons. And a lot of my team's pretty upset about that.
Citizens. Their employees are the same, just like you and I. They're no more innocent.
No, Walker. No. Now, I have been very respectful of our relationship. You have not been respectful of me and my team. I don't mind fighting a proxy war if it's a war, but I'm not here to take out farmers. I am here to perform military operations with precision and skill. If you want somebody to mop up, if you want some patsy, don't come calling again.
So her face at first kind of scrunches up in anger, and like, how dare you? But it softens up a little bit here. You're right, Ishikawa. I underestimated you and your core. You certainly have a bit of capability underneath that unprofessional demeanor. I think she kind of maybe side-eyes Halfta in particular with that comment.
Very loudly.
Halfta owns that one.
In that case, if you're indeed here to perform precision, tactical maneuvers, tell me, what would you propose we do next in order to maximize the revenue of the Morai Symposium?
Maximize your revenue, you need to make sure that you are covering your ass when it comes to public perception. Now, these people may not have the reach, they may not have the media contacts that you do, but their plaintive wails could be heard across the galaxy. And the fact that there are farmers who are willing to jump into mechs and be slaughtered by the likes of me and my team means they are pretty committed to this. I would recommend that you offer an ear to their concerns. Now, perhaps you can tie that up in as much red tape as you need. Extend that conversation for as long as you need to accomplish your business here. But military is not your answer.
She just sort of looks at you puzzled, right? Like, I thought you were prepared to offer me a military strategy, and you're here telling me that you have nothing to offer me? That
They have no military.
I should call HR?
Yes, you might as well call your human resources department. Here's the deal. I can try to find who propped them up in mechs. There is obviously another corporation that is using them as a proxy as much as you are using me and my team. And I'm more than happy to go punch them in their fucking nose.
Now, you're speaking my language. But for one who claims to know so much about public relations, you don't seem to know very much about corporate etiquette. To go and make such a bold military action against the Apex Corporation may not bode well. And I do not know if my superiors would be very pleased to hear that I've taken such a dynamic action without their, say so.
Mm-hmm. Well, A hard charger like you understands that it is better to ask for forgiveness than permission. If you're willing to outlay enough funds to make sure that my team is recompensed for this action, we'll be more than happy to take this to Apex Corp.
So
I glance over to Nox at that just to check in, because I made her come here, even though she's leaving. See what her reaction is to this.
So I'm thinking here we're having two separate scenes, if that's okay.
Okay, cool.
Nox and Vinny are separate.
Oh, okay.
So, but speaking of asking for forgiveness rather than permission, I think it would be good here to cut back. Yeah, so for a moment, Nox, you turn away from Vinny while he's putting away some of your various like sleeveless vests or whatever you probably wear. When you turn back, you see a familiar face instead. And she's folding up this nice dress. And it's someone familiar to you, but someone who you know in the back of your mind is long gone. Who is this person to you?
I think it was my my wife, who's like no longer with us. Also a combat mech gal. Did not make it out of a combat zone.
Nox, why are you staring at me like that? And then we kind of merge over to Vinny's voice.
Yeah.
What the? I need a minute. I think I just kind of like slumped to the ground.
So Vinny will get like a shocked look on his face, and he rushes to you, even though you kind of indicated you want to be left alone. He's like, "Are you okay? Do you mean to get me a med kit?"
So I think my hands are shaking, and like I reach for like a necklace that I have, and like I'm like holding it so tight that I accidentally like pull it off my neck, and then like shaking, like trying to open my hands, I drop it, and like it's a pair of wedding rings that go like that are on a string, and they go clattering and like fall down, and like they fall closer to you than me, and I'm like trying to grab them, but like you can clearly see like what they are.
He'll pick him up, just the habit of picking up something somebody else dropped. Before he really, and then when it's in his hand, he sort of looks at it, and this sort of look of horror crosses his face as he realizes what this must mean if you have both the rings. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. And he tries to hand the ring back to you.
Yeah, I think I just like take them and like really irrationally like turn away from you, like not. I don't want to talk about it. Like
he'll get really uncomfortable and like leave the room at this point. He has no idea how to deal with this level of emotional honesty.
Yeah, I think like as you're like getting to the doorway, you just hear her. She's just like, "That's why you can't trust stats." Okay. You think it can do something more than it can. You don't know that unless you put the work into it yourself first.
He'll just sort of swallow really, really hard. And just nod. And he seems to be like almost just sort of running from you. He's like like I said, this level of emotional honesty is not something his upbringing has prepared him for. And he's practically sprinting away from you. Yeah.
So, Administrator Walker's office. I have information on the Apex office that could be helpful in loadouts on the mecha as we know so far. I could give you all that information. What would you do with it?
It depends on the information, but I would use it to find whatever weaknesses are in this current engagement and attack it.
Probably also double verify it, frankly.
He's not wrong.
And let's say that you do manage to severely put a dent in the operational capacity of the Apex office here. What do you think the outcome would be for Eritan 4?
Long term, they'll escalate the situation. Short term, you make money unfettered.
Yes, a short-term monopoly could be beneficial.
You just got to weigh the costs of paying my team what we're worth versus having that monopoly for 6 months. And that's him like 6 months thinking like long-term travel and hyperlight speed and all that kind of stuff, just like it's his swag. He like looks over to Hafta like 6 months because Hafta does math.
Hafta, how are you dressed for this occasion?
Well, we know Ishikawa won't let me smoke in these meetings, so I also imagine, like, if there's, like maybe there's like instead of overalls or like a jumpsuit that I would normally wear to pilot in, maybe there's like a jacket that goes over that, some sort of like piloting jacket. Maybe that's like kind of standardized, like for mecha pilots. So I imagine it's like bare minimum's respectable. And maybe there's a scene before we go in where Ishikawa makes me zip it up and like look put together.
It's one of those like stop in the hallway. All right, stand straight. Like checks, adjust, tighten the belt, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So Administrator Walker, she kind of looks you up and down, and it's like sort of like the feeling you get when you walk into like a very like upper scale clothing store or whatever, and all of the employees are wearing like tailored suits, and they're sort of like gauging like if you're really here to buy, you know, if you're really the sort of person who's here to buy their clothing. And you know, she kind of has that eye because she's a member of the Mirai Symposium. You know, they're all design focused. You know, the way that your lapels are unstarched, it gives me an idea. A way for us to turn this PR nightmare and military engagement into a happy medium. You're all a rather varied lot. What if we were to say that you were to perform this operation in disguise, under the guise of perhaps some rebel forces?
We have a pretty distinctive lance.
And certainly, if you were to wear your colors and fly your insignia, and you could earn great glory for your destruction of this guarded, defensible position. But if you'd like to trade a little bit of reputation and glory for some extra corpse grip, you could fly this one under the radar. Save me some heat.
I'm interested, but I'll need to discuss it with my team. This is a little out of our normal regs.
Well, if you're already considering that possibility and outcome, I'll go one step further. There's a contingent of rebels out there whom you've already established a reputation with. If you were to go posing as rebels, who's to say that you couldn't pose to them as well? Align them to your cause, gain some allies, gain some firing line fodder if you so see it. More money, less risk.
Ooh, Ishikawa, this sounds more like doing dirty work and less in military engagements the more she talks, huh?
Yeah, she's going to have to pay a lot more script. We're doing the same work that she originally hired us to do that I told her I object to. Just doing it's with a different gloss, but
I do not appreciate you speaking as if I'm not in this room. Don't worry, my script is good. And I don't care about the means, I care about the results. Do whatever it is you think is best, Lieutenant Ishikawa. And if you do it without getting my ass in the fire, there'll be more money in it for you. Come back when you have results.
Understood, Administrator. Thank you for your time. I'll talk to my team and get back to you.
Very well. And she gives one more final passing judgmental dirty look about.
Oh man, she needs to get off of judging poor Hafta. All right, cool. So I'll try to gather up a team.
So when they return to the MOC, Vinny, you're going to be outside. How are you coping with what you just experienced?
He's pretending it didn't happen. He's pulled out his collection of mecha of cards, and he's going through reorganizing them. The repress emotions. That is how you deal with them.
So, what do you all say?
All right, team. We've been offered a change in direction. I raised our objections to fighting against what can be generously called a rebel force, but in actuality are farmers that are being used as proxies for Apex Corporation. Expressed to Administrator Walker that we would not do that again. And she understands. What she has offered us is an opportunity to strike directly at Apex Corp. She's a little worried about taking it to that level. So she's offered us extra script if we would disguise our lands and ourselves to appear as if we are the rebel force, basically the populace here rebelling against Apex Corporation. Told her that was outside of our normal standard op. She suggested that we could recruit some of the rebels as fodder. I, however, think that we have an opportunity to find out exactly why some of these citizens are willing to jump into mechs without weapons and put their lives on the line for what's being done to their planet. And we can punch Apex in the nose really hard, get paid to do it. Does anyone object to that?
What are you suggesting? We use the captured mechs as our own. I mean,
those pieces of shit. No.
If we go in our mechs, everyone will. I mean, I don't see how we could fool them into thinking that we're rebels.
I believe that Walker's looking for a smokescreen, culpable deniability. I don't really give a fuck. I am not going in those shitastic mechs against Apex Corporation. We're going in our Lance. Hell, we'll paint it different colors. I don't give a rat's ass. Does this plan have like a flag or a symbol or an insignia? Is it a dust ball? Is it a booger? I don't know. Where the fuck it is.
Does this plan have an insignia?
Yeah, that's what he's asking. Like, there's some kind of heraldry for end of middle of nowhere.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, I guess no, it's okay. I guess yeah, what we found on those rebel forces is probably something like some old governmental symbol, right? Where these two competing corporations probably overthrew everything. So it's probably some sort of like old traditional throwback nationalistic sort of thing. So yeah, I don't know, maybe it's like a griffin or something.
Nice. It's like a boll weevil, like an alien boll weevil of some kind. Yep. There we go. We emblazon that son of a bitch on our mechs, and we just say that we're rebels working for him.
Worst sports teams ever. Boll weevils. What were you saying, Vinny?
Oh, nothing. He doesn't voice an objection, but he does genuinely, when you suggest painting over his beautiful paint job, he gets like worried look. But he doesn't say anything.
Oh, Ishikawa picks up on it and he walks over and kind of slaps you on the shoulder and says, "Hey kid, if you want, we can pick up one of those Apex mechs, move over your flail if you'd rather fight in that and keep your mech pristine. It does look good, untouched by any battle."
I'll stay in my mech. Thank you, sir.
Even though we're going to put a big fucking boll weevil on the chest. Yeah. You good with that?
I guess we could just paint it back.
Sure can. Out of your script, you can paint it whatever you want, buddy.
As far as infiltrating them and convincing them we're rebels, we are mercenaries. It's well known that mercenaries switch sides all the time. Well, we could just approach them and tell them the truth. We came here as mercenaries, working for one corp, decided their money wasn't good enough, and see if they could offer us something.
True. Or tell them we got stiffed. Because I don't think these rebels can afford much of anything.
Well, whatever they offer us, we'll just pretend like it's enough.
Have to. This kid's smart. He might be challenging Bucking for your second position on the Lance.
All right, Ishikawa. I get frustrated. Don't let me smoke, but let's not go too far. It's a good idea, though.
Nox, how you feel about this?
Yeah, sure. Let's talk to the rebels if we can find them.
And if we can't, then we just go punch Apex in the nose.
Well, they probably deserve a punch in the nose.
Well, in my opinion, they absolutely do. The situation they put us in, unconscionable. All right. All right, team. I'll tell Walker we will accept this. Draw up the contracts.
So everyone is heading off to their bunks for some much needed sleep. Nox, the voice of your wife kind of tickles at your ear. So they're no longer fighting the rebels, but they're still gonna put them in mechs and put them in the front line with you. They're still gonna be under fire. You sticking around?
I think I put my headphones on and turned the music up.
So here's what I want to know.
Can I do a scene with Nox? Is that okay, Michael?
Yeah, absolutely.
And Nox, if you want to have a scene.
We got time for a quick scene. I do want to have a little bit of time for debrief. We got 30 minutes left.
Yeah, over.
But I'd love a quick scene.
Yeah. I want this to culminate in a long-term project. I got an idea.
Okay.
I think it might be good with Nox. So yeah, maybe right after you like turn up your music, I think maybe you like suddenly see me over on top of you, right? Or if you're like laying down, right? I'm like hovering over you, something like that. Nox, 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 Nox.
Take my headphones. What? What?
Listen, I only bring this up because you're the only other cool person on this outfit. But I got a sweet idea. Are you in or are you out?
Can I hear the idea first, or do
No.
I just?
No, are you in or are you out?
I just got to say in or out right now.
Yeah, it's good. You're gonna love it.
Well, let's hear it then. I guess I'm in.
We're gonna hack Administrative Walker.
Oh, I love it.
I knew you would.
Oh, I love it.
All right, well, come on. We gotta get going. We gotta get started.
Oh, hold on. And like, I think I like lead you to my mech, and I climb up in it, and I pop the canopy, and I pull out like the crazy ass like system that was built into this mech. And I'm like, I bet you we could use this for it.
Oh, yes. Nox, I knew you were the perfect person for this. We can take out Walker. How would that? We might even be able to bust Mariah open.
I'm guessing Lieutenant doesn't know about this.
Doesn't need to know about it, you know? So it's just a little side project. Just a curiosity, an itch.
Damn, I didn't know you were so like I think just like traces like anarchy symbol in the air.
I just get bored, you know. Sometimes you're like on the run doing these jobs, and like I just wanna like not have rules of engagement.
I like the way you're thinking.
Yeah, maybe it's like a late night sesh where we're getting computers set up and like.
Yeah, just all kinds of cords and gears running from like inside of my mech like out to like things we're working on.
All night hacker jam. I like it. I'm gonna come to Vinny in a second, but I kind of want to know. I'm imagining as currently ranking officer here, Ishikawa, you probably have your own kind of cabin. It's not very large or well appointed, but it's still yours. So, what does Ishikawa do when he's well and truly alone, when he's not in charge of anybody or anything like that? You just are alone in your own space. What do you do?
I imagine that Ishikawa all by himself, like he locks his door kind of thing. And he's got a VR visor that he puts on, like a couple of headphones. He puts it on, he leans back in his bunk. He's just on a beach. It's like nobody else there. Like a Mai Tai with the pansy ass umbrella in it. He just listening to the surf.
Save it up for vacation. That's what it's all about.
Oh yeah.
Work to not work. Okay. So, Vinny, there's a chance you might end up with another session with us if somebody else, isn't able to make a session, make it off the wait list. But in case this is your only opportunity, I'm going to give you a chance to just do an epilogue here. What does Vinny do? Give us the rundown. You've got full control of the narrative reins here.
So like he's really big into like one of the talents I grabbed was communications. So what I imagined that is while most of Vatican Industries is rather insular and doesn't tend to talk to people outside the corp, he does. it grew mostly out of fanboyism about mechs, right? Like getting on message boards that talk about specs and stats and things like that. Across the different companies that make mechs, and talking about historic battles that have happened, things like that. But that's how he got good at communications, because Vatican Industries kind of looks down on it, so he had to learn how to hide it. And as a side effect of that, he got really good at at communications overall. So he's doing two things that are both related to communications. He's sort of info dumping with taking away precise details of like which planet he's on and things like that. He's sort of info dumping his first combat onto those message boards. And he's totally playing himself up a little bit. So that's one thing he's doing, right? He couldn't get accolades from his team because he sort of got shot down by HAFTA. So he's looking for it in the anonymous internet. And then the other thing he's doing is, like, somebody mentioned getting in contact with the rebels. So he's trying to scan frequencies and find local message boards and things like that to try to figure out a contact point.
Good deal. We'll definitely roll with that next time. That with your help, they've established a connection there.
Okay.
And hopefully you've been able to communicate with the big man upstairs. Spend a little communication doing that. Okay. So I forgot to mention this at the top, but just like last time, we're going to do some debrief. We definitely encountered a few moments of traumatic contact here, specifically centered around our friend Knox. But I would like to have some time to sort of decompress and offer any feedback. Would anyone like to volunteer to moderate the debrief discussion this week?
I can do it. I said I volunteered last week, so I'll stay true to that.
Thanks, Darren. Appreciate it. The information for that is listed in the debrief procedures document. To kind of give you an idea, we're going to take a short break here. This debrief is completely optional. We're going to probably come back around 7:40, 7:45 or so, or, well, depending on your time zone. If you'd like to join us for the debrief, that'd be great. If not, don't have to. If you have feedback on the system, you can also share that in our feedback document as well that David started last week, if you just want to contribute that way. But if that sounds good to you, Darren will be sharing the link to the Discord in the Hangouts group chat, so everyone has access to that. And perhaps I will see you there.